So the dope sheet, all this is a more advanced version of the timeline. And if we come back here, we can switch back and forth between timeline. We can do graph editor. We can do dope sheet. We're going to stick with the dope sheet for a while, but we'll eventually get to the graph editor. So I would definitely say, me personally, I use the graph editor most of the time, but as you get comfortable with the animation, dope sheet is a very, very simplified version of that. So what I'm going to do is select my cube right here. I'm going to go over to my frame 0, and then what I'm going to do is set a manual keyframe. So the next hotkey we'll want to get to know is just insert keyframe. And if we do that over our 3D view right here, we'll see that we get a little menu. And what we're going to do is just hit rotation. And then we'll do is go over to frame 90. And then we'll do the same thing. Mouse over the viewport, and then hit rotation. So it's not going to do anything right now because we haven't actually moved it. So we'll go over to our properties right now. And then what we'll do is in Y, we'll set this to -540. And you notice that it turns orange, right? So that means this keyframe has been adjusted, but it's not set yet. So if we actually move this around, you notice it goes back to whatever it was before. So orange means we have to force set the keyframe. So hit I and then do rotation. So this whole keyframe workflow right here, this is what I would say I primarily use. I don't use auto key a lot just because it gets sticky. You know, you're moving the camera around or the light or just general layout. It tends to stick and tends to be very problematic. So I'm definitely using the insert keyframe the most often. So if we hit play, we'll see that, okay, we got some basic animation, right? So why is this so different from the timeline that we already have been using? Well, it's because we have our channels over here. You notice we have all these different keys right here. If I expand this, we get even more, right? So let's break this down. It's mainly over here that we have to get to know. That's a little bit confusing when you get started because before we were just working with one keyframe. So basically, anything that's below here is our actual keyframe right there. Anything that's going to be above this is just a parent that has the keyframe because the child has the keyframe. So what I mean by that is this is going to be the child, and then all of these are going to be the parent. So object transforms, all these things don't actually hold the keyframes themselves. It's going to be our channel right down here, X, Y, and Z. And what's going to be powerful about this is that we now can move this stuff around individually. So if I just deselect right here, and now I can move individual keyframes around. So I can move my Z around, I can move my Y around, I can move my X around. So there's some other things too, like we can shut off animation, we can shut off the ability to edit it, we can lock it. Lots of really, really good stuff. So long story short, we can, for the most part, anything that's above these, we can just ignore, and then we'll simply go and modify these down right here. And in this specific case, since we only need Y, what we can actually do is come in here and get rid of the other ones. And we can do that by simply highlighting this, hitting X, and then delete keyframes. And then the same thing for Z. Highlight that, X, delete keyframes. So now we're working with a simplified version of this. And this is how I work a lot. You know, the keyframes can get really, really complicated. And typically the less you have, the easier it is to control. So I tend to make sure I'm only working with what I need to at any given time.